The audience, well, we've done some research to find out what our audience, who our audience is right now.
I mean, you're into about 40 million households.
We're about 40 million households, and the audience that we seem to be attracting are more affluent than the average. They are more male. They are younger, somewhat younger. I mean, nobody is getting the, no one's getting 25-year-olds, but nonetheless, it is younger than the networks. And they are very, very heavy news consumers. They're heavier news consumers than the normal viewer. So we know that our bar is high because they're coming to us not to hear what they've already know. They're not tuning in to find out that there are floods in the West, or that there's fires, or that there's whatever. They're tuning in to find out some things that they don't know. And so hopefully, as we grow, and we've only been on the air 7 weeks, we will be able to, quench their thirst for more interesting news and more important news that they can use to make decisions and to learn, to Porter's point, about what's going on in parts of the world where no one else is. And we have access to Al Jazeera's 70 bureaus overseas, which we take advantage of every day throughout the day, if any of you are watching, for sure. And we are starting our own bureaus overseas as well.
And what about, to Porter's point about a business model? Is there one?
Well, to Porter's point, he is right that at the moment it is financed. They're not basing this on a business model of having to sell commercials. There's very few commercials in our air. And so right now, the government of Qatar is financing this operation. They have assured us that we are totally independent of them. And we have already done a story that was not complimentary to the country and to the government and did not hear one peep. So, we do not feel any pressure whatsoever by the government, even though they are financing it. So, I feel good about that.
But I'm somewhat astounded by the numbers, and forgive me for this, but if you look at AC Nielsen, and I congratulate Al Jazeera for even subscribing to AC Nielsen, because the other global channels, Jay, I think we don't do AC Nielsen's either at CCTV or...
We've done some Nielsen.
Have you done?
We have.
Yeah. The Nielsen for the week of October 8th revealed that Ali Veshi, the business show at 7 o'clock, had approximately 30,600 viewers. By my calculations, based upon the purchase price of current TV, that's about $30 million per viewer. So, I mean...
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money for a viewer.
No, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
We're young. We're literally, we are on the air 7 weeks. We have so little carriage. We're not on Time Warner yet, though we hope to be. We were going to be on AT&T, and they pulled us at the last minute. We are on Verizon Fios. We're on Comcast and Dish and Direct. And our salespeople and distribution people are working feverishly to get us, in more places. So naturally, if you are, if only this many people can see us and a portion of that is watching, your rating is going to be low. That has not stopped us from producing really good, high-quality programming. And so, once more people will see us, it'll be even better because, then millions will be seeing instead of thousands.
Jay Campbell, who is watching NHK World?
We have done studies that show that our audience is, in some cases, greater than a 1 rating, amazingly. In most cases...
What does 1 rating mean for those of us?
A 1 rating in a market, and we're not throughout the United States, so this would be in a particular market, would be dependent upon the size of the market, but it's essentially 1% of all TV households.
800,000 or 900,000.
That would be if it was the entire country. And we have other ratings that are lower than that. Typically, I would say we hover in the 0.2 to 0.3 range, which is certainly respectable comparative to a CNN or an MSNBC. I want to go back to Porter's point about the financing and where it comes from. NHK is very similar to PBS in the way that it is funded. In fact, PBS, every conversation I've ever had with PBS folks, they've all said, gee, just too bad we weren't able to start up this way. NHK's model is that if you are a Japanese citizen, you watch NHK, you're expected that you would pay a fee. The only involvement the legislature has is to vote each year on what that fee is and to legislate that. It's then up to the individuals, based on trust, to pay the fee directly to NHK. NHK is not part of the government. It's a separate organization. There's a constitutional separation between the two. And as a result of that, the funds that NHK receives each year for the television programming it puts out, primarily for Japan, but throughout the rest of the world as well, is over $7 billion. PBS would wish to have that kind of money to be able to do things. There is no corporate support, there are no foundations, there's no large giving. It is all funded through that process. And so there is a great deal of objectivity and a great deal of concern in Japan about how that money is spent. And the international development of the channel was done with care in terms of thinking about what the costs would be to put that channel out there. The belief is that the Japanese people are served well by people from throughout the world being able to see. And so the audience that they seek to reach around the world is not the Japanese expatriates. They're great to watch, great when they come to the channel, but it's everybody else. So I don't know if that answers the other.
And you have a sort of a slightly different model because you not only distribute the entire channel in New York and other major cities, but you also have a relationship with public broadcasting.
We do, yes. And we're also looking for local sponsorships, in local, if you will, regional, if you will, calling the United States a region, for sponsorships. We believe there will be a business model that will sustain the operations, or at least go towards that process. Our distribution is as follows. We have about 16 to 17 million households 24/7 throughout the United States. Here in New York, we're broadcast on a commercial channel, WRNN, and we're distributed through their efforts. We're on Time Warner in high def in all of their New York market homes. We're also on Comcast and Verizon in the New York market. And we're over the air on WRNN. It's channel 48.5. We're also 24 hours in Washington on a public television station. Same thing in Philadelphia. Did I say Washington first? Philadelphia as well. And Los Angeles, we just started up. August, we started in LA. And in fact, next week, we're celebrating with a launch party in Los Angeles to celebrate the launch of the channel on public television station KCET. The two spots that you saw, if you notice, the bottom had a tag with channel designations. They're actually the LA spots. So we're buying local cable. We're on CNN and several other news-oriented channels in the local avails promoting the channel. We're also running in the LA Times. We're roadblocking the entertainment section, the front page, the cover page for 2 days in LA. And we're doing radio spots on KNX, the CBS news radio station.
I'm going to wear my little hat, change my hat slightly as a consultant to CCTV, just to state that when I go to Elaine Reyes here, that I think the Chinese are the last that have come to the game. They started with a global news channel only in April of 2010, and then opened up first a Nairobi broadcast center in January of last year, and a Washington broadcast center soon to employ about 130 people in Washington. And Elaine Reyes, Q, who are you trying to reach at CCTV News?
Our audience is 25 to 50 years old, university educated, upwardly mobile, similar to what Al Jazeera is seeing. And someone who's really interested in global news, globally minded, interested in China, interested in Asia, what is coming out of that region. And as far as our viewers, similar, we have 35 to 40 million reach in North America. Obviously, we're seeing in China, we're seeing all over the world. I have Twitter followers from Africa. Actually, I have a couple people that post on my professional Facebook page questions, and they're in Kenya. So we're everywhere. Also, we're in New York. We're on FiOS, Time Warner. You could be seen in Washington, D.C., LA, San Diego. My parents in Atlanta, Georgia can see me. You can watch me at night.
Good.
And some friends in Pittsburgh, too. So we're just, I know what our main cities are, but we are making it through the rest of the country here.
And Time Warner, New York, Los Angeles, and San Diego,
Yes.
right? But Time Warner soon will come to Marcy McGuinness. That's great.
We're hoping.
Let me go back again to Porter, because, all right, you've now heard the distribution. You've heard a little bit about the content. We'll get into that a bit more later. But with this sort of distribution, is there a audience in America who wants this diversified global content? Is there an audience of sufficient numbers to split all these channels and have a decent impact in the American market?
Each one of them has a very different profile, its own individual profile, and so I can't answer that and say there's an audience for all of these in aggregate. But specifically, I mean, there are 20 or 30 million American business people who do business in China, make their livelihoods with trade and investment in China. And those people ought to have a serious interest in CCTV. The same holds for anybody who has any investment in an oil company or in the growth opportunities, investment opportunities in the Middle East. Al Jazeera has a built-in audience there. The problem that, as a viewer, that I see is that I don't want these networks, as good as a job as you do, and you really do good jobs, I don't want you to tell me what's going on in the US. I want to know what's going on in your home country, because that really is going to impact on me. And that, if I were the head of any one of these networks, that's where I would focus the marketing and promotional efforts.